right, I got a question for you. You ready for the question?
Is it a good question or a stupid question?
You know me.
It's a stupid question. Go on.
It's a totally unrelated question. The question is, does Mary's dress wave or sway?
I think you're smoking some crack. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's Thunder Road, Springsteen. There's a whole big debate going on. The screen door slams. Mary's dress sways. People don't know which it is. Is it waves or sway? That's all we can afford. We can't even afford that right now.
I think we can agree on one thing. You have terrible singing.
I figure that the whole waves versus sway thing is something that we can argue about. This is what we do. We bicker. We are off the mark with the Bickersteins. The whole point of the program is each week we have a new topic about marketing and other things that we don't agree on.
And I'm always right. And you just took all my lines, but that's okay. The only important part of that line was I'm always right.
Cue the music open. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Off the Marc with the Bickersteins.
As you may or may not have noticed.
No one noticed. We didn't even notice.
Well, yeah. We took a little break because season 1 was really intense, you know?
Chock full of information, season 1.
And now we're back with season 2. And boy, do we have some amazing guests lined up. I mean, I'm shocked.
Who do we got lined up? Like Zach Galifianakis, Kristen Bell, Chris Hayes from MSNBC, the guy who plays Jack from Virgin River, which I'm watching.
Please. I'm thinking Michelle Obama or something. No.
Oh, wow. We have Michelle Obama lined up. We've really improved the guest listings here.
None of the above. For today, it's even better because it's just you and I. You get to hear our voices, which may or may not be a good thing. Anyway, it's just us today, and we're excited to take it back to the PR basics and discuss or bicker about writing the perfect media pitch.
I think Jack from Virgin River would want in on this, but okay. Let's kick it off by talking about the best media pitches we have ever written and tell us why it's successful. What's the best pitch you ever wrote to get media coverage?
I know the best one you ever wrote was about the smoker's lips, probably, right?
Yes. I think the smoker lips one was one of the more creative, inventive ideas. We got tons of media coverage. We had a client. They were a cosmetic dermatologist. We enjoyed them for many, many years. They were terrific clients. One day, one of the doctors said to me, I think that women are coming in here with smoker's lips, with wrinkles around their lips, and I think they're getting it from water bottles. I'm like, how would you get them from water bottles? Well, they're working out all day. They're walking around with the water bottles all day long. They're pursing their lips, and they're getting wrinkles. And I said to her, would you do a study? Would you do can you get like 100 people? And she said, no, I have a business to run. I'm like, how about a mini study, like 10 people? No. And I'm like, well, you wear a white coat. You got doctor in front of the name. Would you say this is happening? Yes, this is definitely happening. And it turns out it's a real thing. We wrote up a pitch about women coming in with a lot of with wrinkles around their mouth because of the water bottles. And we got tons of coverage. And that was just a situation where we got creative.
You wrote it. I mean, the most important thing is you want to write your headlines like a newspaper would write a headline, or like a tease, like a TV news, executive producer would write a tease to, draw them in.
Well, you know what I've learned recently, this is probably a little late to the party. I tell people who work with us, work for us, we all work, teammates that we all work together, write a tweet, even if we don't send it, just tell me what it is in a tweet. And that seems to resonate. If you can put it in a tweet of 280 characters or whatever they are these days, however many characters they allow in the tweet, write it in one sentence. Tell me in one sentence what the problem is or what the story is or what the news nugget is. And that seems to work.
The basic thing is you write your pitch exactly like a journalist would write the story. So you think headline, you think, short summary. It's basically 3 rules to storytelling. tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you just told them. I mean, that's basically the 3 basic rules to a good story.
So let me just jump in here. You didn't go with my Twitter thing. So
No.
That's not what you were aiming for. That's not, I didn't give you the answer you were looking for. We're going to bicker over this now. Is that the thing?
No, it's good. It's good. That's good.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's that high voice that you like, damned with faint praise.
No, that's fine. That's not how I work. I work with headlines. The tweet is good. That's good. I mean, basically, you need to consider the audience of who you're pitching it to. So if you're pitching it to a reporter, what does the reporter write about? What do they like? What do they care about? What does their audience care about?
What happens if you send it to a reporter who isn't interested in it, or this isn't their beat?
I used to think I was rude as a reporter, and I would just not return people's emails. Or if I did answer the phone, my rudeness was, hey, you got 30 seconds. I'm busy. Give me your best 30 seconds. And if I was interested or not interested, I'd usually say, send me an email. I'll get back to you if I'm interested. And I thought that was pretty rude even. But God, reporters these days, not only will they not write you back if it's a pretty good story.
Well, that's fine. They're busy. They don't have to write us back.
No, they don't have to write you back, but sometimes reporters will literally take the time to eviscerate you, verbally off the planet of the earth just because they're pissed that because
you sent them the wrong pitch. Yeah, no, that is an inside story. We get occasionally, we're pretty good about making sure we send it to the right reporters, but every once in a while you're going to get, you put together a list, somebody's changed beats. So, things happen and you send it to the reporter and then they write you back, not just take me off your list, but if you did your research and you did your homework, you would know I don't cover this. This is not my kind of audience, blah, 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 blah.
I even had a reporter call me back when I was pitching. This is a long time ago. And this is how I knew. And this was actually, it was his beat, but he had changed beats or whatever. And I didn't realize it. He literally called me back to tell me what a freaking moron I was for sending it to him. And I'm like, wow, that's commitment to wanting to really.
I'm really sorry I did that, honey, but we got to meet each other this way. So it worked out well. The story has a happy ending.
Yeah, very funny, very funny. But anyway, so one of the things, the other big things, so you write your really good pitch, make sure you have good grammar, make sure, you don't have misspellings, make sure that you have, it's short, sweet, and to the point with bullet points. So it's scannable. They don't have time. They're busy. You got to scan it. But the other crucial thing that people don't spend enough time on, which is so important, is you'll write this amazing pitch, and then at the last minute, your subject line, you'll be like, your subject line, you won't work on your subject line. It'll be way too big. And when they look at
okay, by subject line, I want the listener to know, you mean in their email that you're sending this pitch that you're hoping a member of the media will cover.
Yes.
So you send an email, many cases. Sometimes it's not an email. Sometimes you're getting them on social media. You're getting them texting them. But if you're emailing them and you're writing an email, you want them to open the email. So you want to put something enticing in the subject line. Did I get that right?
Yeah. And sometimes, I've done little tricks sometimes that probably isn't the best thing to do, but it works.
When you said $5 to open this email, I thought that was
no. Sometimes what I'll do is, let's say it's a TV, let's say it's my old station. And the only reason I know this trick works is because it's worked on me before, because somebody did it to me and I'm like, damn, they got me, but it's a good pitch. So I'm not going to be pissy about it.
You're going to give this away now, right?
Yeah. So you'll write the call letters and so I worked at WJLA. So I would put WJLA, news or something. And it looked like it was an inner office thing. Like it was important that I needed to open it. And it would say something else. Obviously, it had to do with the pitch, but it was just tricky enough that I was like, wait, is this an inner office thing? It just tricked me enough that I did open it. And then if it was good enough, then I was just like, damn, they got me. That was brilliant.
So they made it seem like it was coming from inside. Get out of the house. They're on the upstairs phone.
The call is coming from inside the house. Yes. And another thing to do, compliment the reporter, because reporters get no compliments.
They need love. They get, all they get is a lot of not happy
if
feedback.
They had a great story, then they don't get growled at. You know what I mean? But if they had a shitty story or an okay story, they could get in trouble. And even when they did a knockout story, their bosses don't say a word. And then the viewers will call them up and tell them their earrings were terrible and, you know, they didn't pay attention to their story. And what were you thinking with that haircut or something?
I got that call all the time. My earrings never match my tie.
Yeah, well, I did get called about my earrings, and I had a really damn good story on it. They didn't pay any attention to my story. They paid attention to my freaking earrings. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that the other thing is reporters don't get any love. So you could say something like, loved your story on X. Here's a great follow-up. So let's say the storyline itself isn't like rock star that you can't write it in a short little period. You can write other things in subject lines that will get their attention. And getting a little love is, trust me, just loved your story. They'll be like, oh my God, somebody loves me. And they might open it up. That's how desperate we are as reporters for love. Anyway.
Wow. Sounds like a real personal problem here.
You're listening to Off the Marc with the Bickersteins. Today, we're giving you all the insider secrets of crafting the perfect media pitch.
The thing you shouldn't do, which we used to run into a lot, we still see a lot of it, is kiss a lot of ass. You know, thanks to, before you even get to the point of whatever the news release or the pitch is, you're congratulating all the people upstairs and the other associates you're working with and all the other companies you've tied into this thing. And you don't even get to the point because you got so many other people you got to name. You've run into that. Well,
that's why, to me, like, you know, a news release that you got to send out to, like, please all the higher ups, like, you got to write a news release, right? And you got 52 people going, oh, well, it's got to say this and it's got to say this, and it's a joint news release. We got to give the love to all the blah, blah, blah. Fine. Do that in your news release. Send it on PR Web. Nobody will read it. Nobody will care about it, whatever. But you please the bosses. Your email pitch or your tweet pitch or whatever, that's a totally different story. Keep the bosses and everybody else out of it, because if you really want to get your job done, and that's to get media, this is not about ego. This is not about giving everybody credit. It's about really getting down to what the heck the story is. So if you gotta please your boss, you gotta please those powers that be. Do that in a news release and send it out on a wire service. Call that a day. Don't even let people know what your pitch is. It's the same thing, but basically it's done in the right way. It's written the right way, and the way that a reporter would get their attention and get interest about a news story. So one of the things, like, you know, certain little words like new trend or just happening, or, you know, you got to think, or exclusive, or
breaking news, even, you know, exclusive.
News, yeah. I mean, or breakthrough. Some of those things have been overdone, especially when, like, I hate it on the news right now where they'll be like, it's 10 o'clock, breaking news, you know, the Capitol Police testified today. Breaking news? What? They testified like 10 hours ago. How is that breaking news?
That's watering down the meaning of the word.
Yeah.
The meaning of the phrase. But that's been going on for years.
I know, but I'm saying you got to be careful.
How many shootings were you at where it happened that morning and you were on at the 11 o'clock news with breaking news about a shooting? And there's not, I mean, they don't even have the yellow tape up anymore.
I know. And the people are gone and I'm there with the dead body by myself. No, I know.
You spend a lot of time with dead bodies?
I have seen my share of dead bodies, yes, sadly. And sometimes you weren't prepared. You know, you're like stumbling. In Baltimore, I was in Baltimore when Baltimore was the second most murderous city in the country. I've seen my share. Anyway, you want to use those words, but you want to use them correctly and don't overhype them too. The other thing you want to do is you want to have, when you have your topic that you think is really good, you might need to widen it out.
Are you on a game show or something? What's dinging there?
It's just saying you're right. You're right. You're right.
Oh, you have that on autopilot. You're right, ding.
You're brilliant. Brilliant point, Kathy. Yeah. No, it was my my text. So I could be getting a brilliant, I don't know how to.
You're getting all these amazing pitches right now.
It's the audience listening to me live saying, oh my God, she's so smart.
Shh, don't tell her this isn't live. But we could say it's live and, get them to open the pitch. Do reporters even read these pitches? I mean, who reads these things?
No, reporters read, but they read the first sentence. So make sure your first sentence, that's why your first sentence should be the headline that you think they'll want. And then you bullet point everything. It's got to be, literally, it's got to be scannable. They got to be able to go, da, 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 love it. If you send paragraphs and paragraphs, you just forget it. But the other thing is, so have your good story idea, but widen it out, like pull related stats.
Hyperlink details, put some details in there. And then I think you were saying this before, but write it. If you can, write the story for the reporter and make it sound like, as you were saying, make it sound like a reporter would do it. And I mean, many times we've had things taken right out of our media pitches, copy paste into the story. We're happy that it happens. We're happy that it made it easier for the reporter.
I typically will write my media pitches like I do like a intro, just like I would write my story, a quick headline. And then I bullet point like the intro. I bullet point my two main facts. I bullet point the opposition, what the opposition would say. Then I bullet point my conclusion.
And 7 pages later.
No, it's short. It's gotta be 2 paragraphs and bullet points. That's it. It's gotta be super short. It's gotta be less than half a page. Like if you were to look at, obviously you're on email, but it's gotta be half a page. But what I'm saying is you literally are bullet pointing it out like it's written, and then you basically outline the story. And then they go, oh, wow, my whole story is right there. And guess what? And the other things, if you could put on like one-stop shopping, like basically, interviews, like I've got this person to do an interview. They'll all be in one location. You can have lunch that day. You could breathe if you wanted to. Make
sure that the assignment desk doesn't know where you are. Go off the radar for a few hours. And
you have a chance to get a drink of water and go to the bathroom like you normally don't get to do as a reporter.
Anyway. No, reporters get to go to the bathroom, but usually in an alley or in the back of the live truck into a cup. Been there. That's when I decided to get at it. That literally was the moment I said, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm kind of done with this, I think.
The other things is maybe include like what you want. You may want to tell reporters at the end. Let's say you wrote your really short pitch, and then you say, hey, these are things that I can give you. I can give you B-roll. I can give you a fact sheet on the new bill. I will make this so easy for you, but that's a little bit later down the road. Like the information I can provide.
And that is a point I think that we should make, which is, if you're trying to get your story covered, and you don't have to be in PR and marketing to do this. You could be a business. You could be a person who has a great story to tell. With COVID and new technology like Zoom, reporters don't have to schlep out to interview you. You could do a Zoom interview. You could shoot your own B-roll on that's video of the thing that you're talking about. On your own iPhone and get nice steady shots. And if you can provide the video and the interview, and then as Kathy said, a person who's been impacted by this, perhaps somebody who had smoker's lips, to go back to an earlier example, the reporters these days are much more likely to cover the story because it's all done for them. It's, They could write it up and put it together quickly, and it's and it's interesting and it's topical. It's news.
Some people say no news is good news.
I say to those people, you've never read 1631digitalnews.com.
Hey, everybody, there's a new site online that pulls the best content from the best sources from around the internet.
Get the latest breaking news, U.S. news, sports, luxury, music, entertainment, and even a great lineup of podcasts, including, guess which one?
Off the Marc.
Off the Marc with the Bickersteinsteins.
Check it out today at www.1631digitalnews.com. That's www.1631digitalnews.com.
It's a great news site.
It is.
It's where we get all our news, or a lot of our news, most of our news, a good part of our news.
I check it out first thing in the morning.
And before you go to bed, all day.
And before I go to bed.
It's a 24/7
I'm going to go on it right now before our podcast in case I missed something.
1631. Check it out. 1631digitalnews.com.
So you need to put all that together in your pitch and tell them what you have. And then the dreaded thing happens, the phone call. You do need to follow up with a phone call. But the funny thing is even recently, I've called a couple reporters and gotten yelled at. One guy was like, I was like, oh, I was just wondering if you got my pitch. And then I gave the 10-second thing. And he was like, yeah, I got your email. If I was interested, I would call you. Don't call me, I'll call you. And I was like, okay, have a great day. So anyway, reporters sometimes.
That could be a reporter, it could be a producer, it could be an editor, it could be
sometimes they hate
desk person.
They hate phone calls. But that doesn't mean you don't do phone calls. That just means that you realize that you may get yelled at. And what I do is, you're always one of my big things is I'm like, hey, Joe, did you get my pitch? How these 3 babies are going to go to the moon next week. Do you have a second to talk about it? Like, one of the things you should do, tell them your pitch within, 10 seconds. I emailed it. Did you get the story about the babies going to the moon? Do you have time to, where I can tell you a teeny bit about it? I hated it when people just went right past me and started talking and would just try to shove in all their words and not ask me if I had the time.
Can you overpitch? I mean, we've had situations where we end up pitching, and then calling the place. And then somebody said, if I hear about that damn blankety blank thing one more time, but they knew about it then, at least it made an impression with them.
Well, then you make a joke. You say, hey, oh my God. So you're telling me I'm doing my job. Okay, you don't like that story. What about this story? I always have 2 to 3 backups, even if it's with, you have a client, you have a couple different backups. Okay, so obviously that one didn't float your boat. But what about this one? What about this one? No. Okay, fine. Well, what are you working on? What can I help you with? Are you working on something where you need some people? Because I might be able to help. I have a lot of clients. I might be able to help you out. So you want to be seen as a source to the reporter, and not always just asking for a favor for them, but what can I do for you? Is there anything you're working on that you're having problems? You need a real life person, you need somebody. That's another way to just break through, because reporters, and sometimes this happens to us a lot, because we're former reporters and because we always set up stories so well and basically produce them not like that would be false and misleading, but like a real news reporter would do, even if it means giving the opposition point of view, which is important that any reporter would do, right? If it's a story that has some controversy. But that's why we get calls from reporters sometimes, and they'll just say, hey, I'm working on a story. I know you know a lot of people, or can you help me out here?
I did a thing yesterday. It had nothing to do with me. I mean, I just was making sure that the story got covered, but I read a tweet. This will age this podcast. We're recording it, probably a couple of weeks before it goes online. But I read a tweet from David Simon, the writer, author, creator of Homicide and The Wire, one of the greatest TV shows in the history of television. And he said that he was looking forward to today because they were about to shoot in Baltimore for the first time in 14 years. And so I made sure that that information got to a reporter who I know works in Baltimore who might be interested in that story, that they're shooting a new series for HBO on the streets of Baltimore. Another fantastic series. Anyway, wasn't, groundbreaking or anything, but I sent it to a reporter because I thought they might be interested. And you do that from time to time. You go, hey, I just heard this. You might need to know about it. Keep this in mind. This isn't a client. I'm just, helping out here.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. That's building trust. A lot of people, I hear this all the time. Do you know a lot of reporters, that will tell me if I should hire you as a PR person? I'm like, yeah, I know a lot of reporters and producers, and all that. But that doesn't mean the story I pitch is going to get on the air. It has to be a great story. And matter of fact, we won't
You mean
even.
they're not going to risk their job by just doing their friend a favor?
No, they're not. I mean, and I had so many friends pitch me stories, and I'm like, sorry, it's not really a story. It's not something I would cover. If it was a good story, even if I couldn't pitch it, I'd say I'll send it to the desk. But no reporter's gonna, do a story they don't think is a good story. So knowing people helps get your phone calls returned, get your emails answered, get you through to the person. But if the story is not a story, they're not going to cover it. So basically, it's got to be a good story, and you have to have a good angle. So you really have to think like a reporter when you're thinking about pitching anything to the media, because not only do you have to write it like that, but it's got to be a story. It's got to have a good angle. The more timely, the more urgent. Even if it's an evergreen story, that's fine too. But maybe there's an immediate angle or something that's coming up, or there's X awareness month that would be a good time to pitch it. So you just have to really think about, like, when is a reporter more likely to have success? Because the reporter's got to sell it to their bosses. The reporter most likely is not going to say, oh yeah, we're going to do that story tomorrow. The reporter goes, okay, you know what, I really like that story. But then there's a pitch meeting in the newsroom, and the reporter pitches their stories, and it's like, as a group, they decide what stories they're going to cover. So the reporter has to believe in it first enough to pitch it on up the chain. So you got to give them the material that they need to do a good pitch for the story themselves. So let's just talk about some.
But not only. I mean, you have to have the pitch ready. I think we talked about this a little bit, but not all reporters. I mean, we're pinging them on social media. We're getting them on Twitter. We're getting them on their DMs on Instagram. I mean, you can't put a whole pitch there. I mean, you're talking emails and phone calls. That's so 2010.
No, it whatever it is, it could be a text, but then it's a sentence. It doesn't matter. Got a great story for you.
It's got to be like that old New York Daily News headline: Ford to city, drop dead. Boom.
No. My headline is 4 babies going to the moon. That would be interesting. No, you just have to think of, like, what is going to get their attention. And sometimes it might sound a little wackadoo, or the more, it's got to be true, it's got to be authentic, but the more hyperbolic it sounds, remember, that's what's going to get viewers and eyeballs to their news shows or to their newspaper. So they got to look
Bathing
for
suits kill, that kind of thing. Kind of like how the news does teases during ratings period.
Yeah. So don't make your pitch too broad. It should be pretty specific. And think of one angle. Don't try to, one of the things that
you're right. We're going to go for the bonus round now. Okay.
One of the things that kills a pitch is you're trying to tell them too many things at once. You know what I mean? You're like, really, there should be one big draw, that should really, if you're trying to tell them 12 things, nothing's going to stick. It's got to be, you can't like oversell it. You can't like be hyperbolic where it's not true. And it sounds, it sounds like, I don't know, something you would read on the National Enquirer or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, although I know there's some good stories in the National Enquirer.
There used to be good stories in the National Enquirer. Then they got all political and screwed up, but whatever. But we get the point. Yes.
Anyway, stick to one angle. Make sure it's true. Don't make it salesy. It
needs to be editorial. Yes.
Yeah. Let's say the doctor. You want to get the doctor on the air. So it may be that you're like, hey, listen, these 5 things are really COVID is big in the news. The vaccine is big in the news. My doctor is, one of the best, whatever. You can talk about all 5 of those things. And you may give them a couple different angles if you have it, or maybe a generic pitch. Like if you're looking for a medical expert that you can call on a whim, this guy is, good to talk about these 5 topics or these 3 topics. But, you just want to make sure that whatever you're selling, you're selling the story overall, and you're really not like, if your story is, I don't know, about some kind of new jelly, right? Like you wouldn't be talking about buy, Smucker's jelly. It would be, new jelly, helps cure hiccups. I don't have no idea. Do you know what I mean? But you get.
No, I have no idea. I don't know where you went. I have no idea. You veered off the road into some cul-de-sac here. And
don't try to sell your product. Sell the story. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes. Try to be. Yes. You have a lot of, from the PR side, you have a lot of bosses to contend with, just like the reporter has their own bosses to contend with. So you got to pitch the product, you got to pitch the whatever it is but you have to keep it objective. You have to. I think would you read this if somebody sent this to you? Then if so, you're off to a good start. Yeah,
and that's true, but you got to think.
No, that's it. That's it. It's true. That's all it is. I'm not arguing this.
It's true, but you still have to think like a reporter. I may be interested in jelly.
Well, if you think like a reporter, then we left out the best thing. Does it hit you in the gut? Do you have a story? You think you have a story? If it hits you in the gut and you think that this is like really interesting, then you might, then you have something. Go back to the bottom line. What's your gut telling you, other than it's time for lunch or dinner? And start from there. What's making you interested in this, and then work your way to the. I think we've covered it all. I think we've said it all.
I think I'm ready for dinner and lunch and breakfast. So I think we've covered it.
I think we solved the problem. I mean, is it waves or sway? You have the final answer on that.
Waves. I don't.
Waves.
It's waves.
It's waves. Mary's dress waves.
Waves.
Like a vision, she dances across the porch. The radio plays.
Please don't sing. Oh my God! Stop the music. Stop.
This was a great way to get us going on season 2. We now do we give everything away? Now can people do our job for us?
Nah.
No, we didn't give away all the trade secrets. We still have a few up our sleeves.
We still have a few.
But if you are looking to get in the news, email us at info@onthemarkmedia.com. We could talk about writing the perfect pitch perfect for your business. Hit us on Twitter at onthemarkmedia. Those are marks with a C. So it's on the mark with a C media.com. Off the Marc is a production of On the Marc Media. You can always find us at onthemarkmedia.com.
Until next time, I'm Kathy, he's Marc, and we're the Bickersteins.
You want me to sing some more? The
radio
plays.
God, no, stop. We've lost 5 listeners.
Okay, goodbye.